Here we have a D16a6 or ESI head port work that we're gonna talk about. This is actually my spare head. It's exactly the same head that I have in my car. While everyone wants to go VTEC, not realizing it's only the intake that has VTEC, your exhaust is still non-VTEC. And plus, it is also Bisimoto's engine of choice on Nemo. He ran 12.68 on street car setup on stock factory gears and just final drive. So if you need M factory, is your engine that weak? And this is a Mugen D16a6, my favorite. We're also gonna talk about the ITB setup that I have, some dyno sheets, and of course the special cams that I have. Look at those lobes. Now here we have the intake ports fresh from the carbide cutter. As you can see, it's taking shape. It's still far from it, but it's getting to the shape that we want. So there you go. Now let's throw the sequence up a bit. Let's go with the exhaust first. We've done it with the 80 grit. Now it's the 120 grit for the finishing texture. We're gonna get there. It's getting cleaner and we got the shape good. So we're doing the finishing touches right now. Now this is a personal opinion. The exhaust ports of the D16a6 is far more superior than the VTEC counterpart. If you disagree, that means you can make power. Of course, both heads can be ported to make more power. It's just that the starting point or shape of the D16a6 is better. Now here is the finished exhaust ports. You can see it's shaped really nicely, or for better efficiency. That means more torque, right? And it's like, it's a big factor that's often overlooked. Having efficient ports that has good airspeed creates excellent torque that leads to really good power. Because, when you think about it, the dyno measures power because of torque. Now look at that awesome port finish. The light shows exactly how good it is, right? Here you can see the shape, the sidewalls, and even the bend or the turn is really good. And this is why the D16a6 is my favorite. And that is why it's possible to make good power. Now off to the intake. Oops, wait, the transformer is off. Alright, here we go. Now we've done 80 grit, now we're going to the 120 grit for the finish. We sometimes go back and forth with the carbide, then the 80 grit, then carbide again, so that we can get the necessary shape that we want. Once we're on that, or once we achieved it, we go with the 120 grit just to get the desired finish, Alright, it's getting good now. It's getting nicer and nicer, and we're going to show you good pictures and angles of the finished product. And so now we're gonna keep going at this and then invert the head for the floor. Alright, now we invert it. Consistent port finish is really important, even on the floors. This way your flow is gonna be really excellent. Alright, now we clean it and we go to the workbench. Alright, now let us show you my ITBs. This is a Honda CBR 1000RR throttle body set. Right? We had an OEM manifold flange chopped off, welded some runners, and now look, it even uses a Honda TPS. It's gonna be so nice. Now here's the manifold without the throttle body, and you can clearly see how nicely it is port matched. Look. Oh, this is gonna create awesome torque. And you can see here, I roughed out the lower part, that's where the injectors hit the wall, you know. So, you know, it's just those small things that I'm hoping is gonna create better optimization for more power. Now, before we finish talking about the ITBs, at the end of this video, we're going to talk about the Mugen, BC, and also my cams because they're all interrelated. And of course, some dyno sheets, alright? Now, okay, the intake ports is 30 millimeter high and 45 millimeter wide. So that's around 38 millimeters in area. That would matter because look at this. CBR 954 throttle plate is 42, and then the opening is around 48, and of course on the ports is around 38, and of course the opening of the velocity stack is around 80. If you remember the ITR video, taper is really important. So when you think about it, this just might make awesome power, right? All right. Okay, now going back to intake runner length. If you remember this video that you can click here, we showed you the measurements of this ITB length. It's 13 inches. So we did the calculation, and I learned this from BC, the owner of Bisimoto. So, you know, you gotta find out what it does, and you can see here second harmonic, third, and fourth. The second harmonic is the strongest, but of course it gets difficult to achieve the length for that. Even NASCAR, they go for the third harmonic because it's just reasonable, you know. And if you look, third harmonic, the 7% strength is at 6,800 rpm to 7,760 rpm. When you think about it, you don't have to like say, okay, I want mine to be 8,000 rpm. No, you just shoot for how you can take advantage of the length that you're able to use on your engine bay, you know. So when you think about it, on the dyno sheet later at the end of the video, you'll realize this could have been perfect. And what's interesting is increasing taper actually mimics a longer runner. So when you think about it, when we have an ITR manifold and we need a little bit more performance or improvements, we increase the taper. And we talked about this on the video, and you can click here on the ITR manifold porting. Now I've bored you enough. Let's go back to the intake manifold porting before the dyno sheets. Now here's the finished intake ports. Look, the shape, even the bowl on the throat, it looks really good. And of course, the shape is quite efficient, you know, towards the bend, the short turn, the transition is quite uniform, or at least, you know, done nicely, right? Here you can see the pictures better. The consistency of the finish is really good, right? And the light actually helps show you the contours and the consistency. Look at the straight shot. Here at a little bit more of an angle, just to see or show you the floors. Now let's go look at the cams I have on the shelf. So on the car is the 2.X by BC. But before that, this is a legendary Mugen D16a6. It makes 218 brake horsepower, or around 188 wheel horsepower. That's crazy. It's just a 75mm stock bore and stock stroke, you know? And BC once said, back when he was rolling with RS Machines was machining or rebuilding one of the Mugen engines, and he saw the cam. It was huge. It was hitting the floor, even the sides of the head. So he had to grind off a lot of things, or a lot of areas where the lobes hit. That's when he realized it was okay for him to run a bigger cam. So he went straight to webcam, you know, for the welds. Okay, now here we go. This is a D16a6 Stock Esi Cam. Alright? And this one is a regrind. It's slightly wilder than the Bisimoto Level 2.X. And then the big guns. Yeah. All right. Ooh, that's huge, you know. This regrind here is slightly bigger than what's in the car. The problem is the exhaust valve hits the piston, so I have to redo some stuff. Okay, now we're on with the ESI cam. We zero out the dial gauge. And to help you guys count it better, one full turn is equivalent to .1 of an inch. This way, you count it easier or you get less confused. And it becomes easy when you always use this or the dial gauge. Alright, now let's turn it. Okay. Come on. Okay. 1, 2, and then. Alright. Okay. 0.226, but that's at the lobe. And I don't really care or count at the lobe because it's less important. What's important is the lift at the valves because that's what the engine sees and that's what dictates flow. So it's because the rocker arm ratio is 1.64, it's 0.370 lift at the valve or 9.41 mm. Cool. I'm sorry guys, I didn't get to measure the level 2.x that's in the car. It's slightly smaller than this. That's what I remember. That's why I used it. Now on to the bigger regrind. Alright. We said up. I'm not gonna adjust the magnetic holder because it's gonna change the positioning, so we'll just adjust the dial gauge. We're gonna zero it out. All right, remove the 0. All right, let's look. Oh, where's the 0? All right, there. Wait. We gotta tighten it. All right, there. Okay. Now we're gonna start counting it again. All right, now it's 1. Come on. 2. All right, we stop at the maximum lift. All right, 294. So it's 0.294 inch lift at the lobes. So with the math, it's 0.4082 lift at the valves or 12.24 millimeter lift at the valves. Wow, that's actually almost like a Skunk 2 Pro 2. Oh yeah. No wonder it hits. I mean, no wonder the valves hit the pistons on the exhaust. So what I plan to do is when I run this head, run it with no shave because we have that. A commercial for now. You gotta subscribe and hit the bell because of this, and you'll see. We're working on a revamped velocity stack video, you can see here, on how it might not be ideal when it's forward facing. Even when you put it flush on the bumper, you can see it, right? This will be released once we hit 1,000 subscribers because we do plan to elevate and increase all the technical stuff that we share for you guys once we get that mark, just so that it's worth it for you guys. So you gotta subscribe. You'll see our theories and approach and reasons why we develop our ram air. You can see it on this picture, right? All the video will be more detailed than ever with data logs and all. Alright, now we show you the big cam. Look at those lobes, they're crazy huge. Alright, now you can see it's really not yet possible to measure it because look, it doesn't even turn. The lobes hit the head here, and so eventually when we prepare a head or maybe this one, we're gonna grind off all the places that it hits and then be able to measure it. The story about this cam is that I got it from Kirk, and he's a GT pilot. Sorry, a GT racer, and he's friends with Doug. They both raced in the SCCA back when Mugen was actually racing. And actually, Doug drove the Mugen CRX that had this. So, of course, once they retired, he got one of them. And so that is why I don't mention surnames, because we don't want anyone to get into trouble. Because Kirk sold this cam to me. And if you remember what I said that BC found in RS machines, when he saw the Mugen cam, it was hitting everywhere in the head. It was that big. So when you think about it, right? Okay, now let's go with the dyno sheets that I wanted to talk about. With the cam in my car, this was the initial dyno that Bong did for this customer. 147 at 115 torque. This had 13.2:1 compression and ran avgas or aviation fuel. Well, the interesting part is that the engine came back, not because of problems, but he blew up his transmission. So for some odd reason, he sent the whole engine with the transmission. So upon checkup, everything was good after fixing it. But me and Bong, we figured to try something. So we did this. We installed my head that lowered the compression down to 12.4:1. And look, the graph actually looks better. And this is when I learned that an efficient flowing head is worth more than upping the compression alone. Look, it looks really good, right? And it's actually stronger in horsepower and slightly higher in torque. And if you remember, this third harmonic is from 6,800 to 7,700. Look, imagine if we ran this, it would have boosted that range of RPM, which probably carried the peak power even higher or longer. And that's how you develop engines to make crazy good power. And that's what makes it fun for me. It's not like what everyone does, like they copy other people's setup, or they buy this cam because their favorite in Facebook runs this cam, they're gonna be that fast. No, you develop what you have in order for you to improve your previous best, and that's what makes it fun for me. So click here for the ITR manifold porting and subscribe so you know more of the good stuff.